Hello everyone. After spending a few hours looking over our Shadowless box that we just opened up, we are going to be looking at some cards that we're going to be sending in for grading to either PSA or Beckett. I believe none of the Howells are going to make the cut in order to send to Beckett to try and get the either gold label 10 or the um, black label 10, which there are none in existence for the Shadowless base set. There are no black label. There is only, I believe, 3 total cards in existence for the gold label 10. I think it's 2 Charizards and 1 Pikachu. Um, so the Charizard, unfortunately, is definitely, if you have to try and predict what these cards are going to get graded, the Charizard, unfortunately, is not going to get a PSA 10, as you can see with these really bad print lines. So maybe it gets a PSA 9, or might even get a PSA 8. I don't know. Let's see how strict the grader is going to be. The back does look pretty decent, though. There's a little scuff right up there up top. And a little bit right here. See, it's interesting, because when you look at these cards, see, here's the problem with trying to grade for the, which we'll see with these. I went through the whole box, like 300 plus cards, and spent a few hours trying to carefully examine every card in the entire box to try and get or find a black label. When you look at the card dead on, you can see it looks kind of perfect. There's no whitening, there's no scuffs of any kind on the card. When you start to tilt the card, you'll start to see some things come across. You see the top where it looks like it's almost dented or folded back, or the top here looks like it's dented or folded back. When you start looking at the angles of the card, see right here, this corner looks really terrible, but dead on, it looks like absolutely nothing's wrong with the corner. Trying to get it to focus. When you look at it dead on, but then when you start turning it over, you can see this is almost every card that comes out of these boxes. It's just how they're printed or manufactured. I don't know. But we're going to send in this guy, this Charizard. Unfortunately, it has those bad print lines. I believe PSA rates surface as one of the highest things. So this guy's definitely not going to get a PSA 10. There's no way. Let's look at this. The Chansey, I thought may have had a chance for a Beckett, the first ever gold 10. But I think I'm going to send it in just for PSA now and shoot for a PSA 10, because the centering is a little bit off, if you can see, from left to right. It's not perfect, and they are so meticulous, Beckett, that I don't think I'm even going to bother sending it in. But I am going to shoot for a PSA 10. There's only 15 in existence, and I think this guy has a great shot at a PSA 10. If this doesn't get a PSA 10, I don't know. I think no chance he is ever going to get a PSA 10 ever again. There are 0 print lines. The hollow looks absolutely pristine. Look, you can see this. The hollow's absolutely pristine. There's nothing wrong with it. The centering is slightly off, but the corners look pretty good, if not perfect. The edging is not absolutely smooth and pristine. That's mostly all these cards, though, are like that. It's just how they're printed. I see a little bit of off right here on the yellow. This is being like overly meticulous with the card. But you can see there's 0 whitening. 0 on the back. And if you do the whole, start tilting it, you'll see a little bit on here. This is why I believe it won't get. So you tilt it, there was 0 whitening, but now when you start tilting it, the edges come up. Like there's something almost wrong with the card. See this edge too? But when you have it flush, and there is actually a little bit of whitening right here. Slight, ever so slight. But if you look at other PSA 10s, when they were graded, 5, 6, 7 years ago, the conditions of the cards were way worse. They're a lot more lenient 5, 6 years ago, or whatever. Well, we'll see. I think this is going to be a PSA 10. We're going to have 16 now in the world. Let's see what PSA says. What else we have? We have a Raichu that we're going to submit. Let's take a closer look at this guy and see if we can maybe submit it for Beckett. This guy also looks pristine. Hollow, looks amazing. No print lines on it. That's the biggest problems with the Raichu. There's so much Howell foil everywhere. And I believe there actually is. Yes. You see a little shimmer right here? Right on the edge. It's ever so slight. So I think we're not going to submit this to Beckett. The back looks pretty great, except there's a little tiny white right here. I think this is going to be another PSA 10, if I had to guess. Let's look for our Mewtwo. It's another really good looking card. The Hollow again. Looks perfect. I see no edge bleed on this guy at all with the Hollow. There was a little shimmer right here. There is a tiny bit. It's one little dot right there. One little tiny dot. Maybe another dot right here too. It's so slight. The centering looks pretty good. How's the back? So this card again, we're not going to submit to Beckett because of those two dots right there. It has to absolutely look perfect. Like you can't find anything wrong with it whatsoever in order for you to submit it to Beckett. Nothing. Even when you have these little lips here where it looks like it's, see look, you look at it dead on, nothing. When you start going like this, little tiny, it looks like it's dented. But it's not when you look at it flush. So I believe, though, this is another PSA 10. If I had to take a guess. We have a Venusaur. If I remember correctly, when we unboxed it, I thought it was perfect except for these black lines. The Hollow, no print lines, looks great. I believe there's no Hollow edge bleed anywhere on the card. No, centering actually looks pristine. Zero wrong with the centering. The only problem with this card is these black dots here, which is going to be the surface of the card. And PSA rates the surface heavily. So this could maybe not get a PSA 10 because of those dots. The back, I think there's actually zero wrong with the back. There's a little bit right here, a little tiny bit of whitening. So we'll see if this gets a PSA 10. Maybe it gets docked because of that. If this black wasn't here, I would submit this one to Beckett to try and get a gold. But I think they're going to dock it for that. So I'm not even going to bother. Then you have to worry about opening up the whole case. This Clefairy has a black line right here. Nothing wrong really with the back either of this card. I have two Clefairies. I thought I grabbed the better one. Let's look at this other Clefairy. Now, I prefer putting the cards in top loaders and then putting a plastic around the top loader, but PSA hates when you send them top loaders. So I'm going to have to put them in those card savers, even though I hate using them because I feel like I'm breaking the card when I put it in there. The foil, hollow foil, looks pristine on this. The centering is off from left to right. Otherwise, I don't see anything wrong with this card. There is it's a little rough on the bottom here. It's not perfect. How about the back? Again, the edges. I may not submit any. I probably will submit both of the Clefairies to PSA, see what happens. So you have this Clefairy, and this one with that black line. Let's see what happens. Now, here are the. I only found. How many cards did I find? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I found 9 cards out of the 380 something cards that may qualify for the Beckett Gold, and I looked over every card just to try and find one. So here's a Poliwag. There's nothing wrong with the back whatsoever. There's 0 whitening. All the cards here are going to have basically 0 whitening on the back. Now if we do the whole tilt, you'll see there's a little tiny thing up here, but it's basically pristine. Even when you see this, it's a little tiny bit. See a little tiny bit on the edges, but when you look at it dead on, it is pristine, the card. Every one of these cards are going to be pristine. So we're going to see what Beckett says. Ponyta. Front is pristine. The back also pristine. Even when you do the tilt test, they're all gorgeous. Abra. And if these cards don't come back gold or black label, there will never be a gold or black label from the base set. There's a little bit up here. There's a little bit, even when you tilt it. So we're going to have a test here. So this Abra, let's see if they really do factor in the tilt test. Let me look at the border. Because it's, look, pristine. You don't see anything? I'm not seeing this. Is that dust? That's dust. You don't see anything? When you tilt it, then you see it. So now we're going to notice now. For the Abra, let's see what Beckett says. Let's see if they dock it. And that was an edge. Let's see if they dock the edge. Ghastly. The front of these cards are all perfect. When you do the tilt test, you'll see it again. Right up here. Pristine. Tilt it, and then you see it. But again, all these cards are pristine when you look at it from top down. Machop. Same. The corner here. Only when you tilt it. Voltorb. Yep, again. Just a little bit in the corner. And we have ourselves a Charmander. Out of all the cards, couldn't get one Pikachu that looked good enough. And they might be PSA 10s. All these cards that I'm showing right now, the base set, the commons, these are all definitely PSA 10s. I'm 100% confident that all these will get PSA 10s. It's just trying to get that Beckett is where it's really going to be hard or impossible. We have Kadabra. Now these cards are a little bit of a test where I know the borders, like it looks pristine from top down, but a lot of the edges are a little messed up when you do the tilt test. I wanted to really see this card. How, if it gets rated really poorly, let's say like a BGS 9 or BGS 8, then they really take into account the tilt test. Because I picked these cards that really look pristine here. I have 2 cards, this Kadabra, that look absolutely perfect top down. but are really messed up on the tilt test. The Kadabra, and finally the Squirtle. Same thing. They are pristine when looking at them from top down. Absolutely nothing wrong with them whatsoever. No whitening, zero. When you do the tilt test, you're going to see. See top here, this corner here. You'll see right here on this edge, a lot wrong with it. On the edges especially. So let's see what happens.